In this video, I'm going to show you how to carve your own ink pen. It's actually a very simple process, which is why I'm having you do it yourself. The only thing you need is an X-Acto knife. If you have a carving knife, something like this is certainly something you can use as well, but X-Acto knives work really well. So I'm actually going to show you with an X-Acto knife because that is what's on your supply list and certainly what I expect you to have. So before I begin, I want to show you a couple samples of pens I've already carved. Now, the good news is all you need is a point. So even if you don't do a great job of getting a pen carved, you don't have to worry, because as long as you can get a point in the wood, you will have a functional pen, which is why, again, I'm having you do it yourself, because this saves you quite a bit of money. And I find that it feels good to know that you made it yourself, and you can then learn how to make it again and again and again. So even twigs, and I have this one as an example, that you don't carve can certainly work as a drawing tool, and one I've been using for years and years to make more unique marks in my drawings. So I do use those as well. So here I have two examples. I have just a twig I found on the ground, and then I also have bamboo. Bamboo is a very traditional material, bamboo or reed pens. And as you can see, I have a couple samples of store-bought ones. The ones bought from the store are always a lot larger. So you can kind of see here, they're a lot larger. And when I talk about just having a point, these will always have one side that's just a point and one side that has the ink well, which you can kind of see here is just a hole. And then a conduit that takes it to the point, the ink to the point. And so I am going to show you how to create this. But like I said, again, as long as you have a point, it'll allow you to draw. So you don't have to fret about whether or not you've made your best one on the first try. Step one certainly is going to be to go find some sticks outside. So you don't have to go buy anything. You want to find, relatively straight ones. You can get various sizes, you can kind of see here. I like some thin ones to make nice thin marks, but larger ones work really well too. And you sometimes want nice large marks that you're making. This is like considered a large pen. They have small, medium, and large. But for the stuff we're drawing in class, you really want more of a small size. So that would be considered maybe about this size. I like extra small because I do really fine details in my work. So I go even smaller often, but the even smaller ones, most of the time I can only make a fine point. I can't actually do the ink well unless I make them out of a feather or something like that, because the wood will split too easily and you don't get to stick with your the traditional ink well. But like I said, not a problem. So step one here obviously was to get your twigs. And you just find these around outside somewhere. Step two is going to be the area that you're going to use as your pen. I usually do both sides. I usually like to do a double-sided pen, and then you have like usually one sometimes works better than the other, or one is a finer point than the other. So you have one that's a fine point and one that's a little bit more of a thicker point. So you get two different kinds of lines. So you can certainly do the same, but I'm only going to carve one side for you. So the first step is to take the bark off. So this is not difficult, obviously. You just go around. I've carved many pens with this. That's the beauty of an X-Acto knife, is that the the blade stays extra sharp for a nice long time. So all I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm kind of shaving the way that you would shave your skin, meaning that you're not going down into it. You're just going right on the edge, like you're peeling a carrot or a potato or something. You're not trying to take the bark off the entire pen unless you find that it's uncomfortable to hold, and you can certainly do that. But usually I don't find that to be an issue. So at this point, usually when you take the bark off, I just want to kind of show you, if you kind of twist it around, and that light is a little too bright, so it's hard to see. Let me grab the lighting and drop it. Okay, so if I show you, you can kind of notice that there's already a bit of an angle on this part. So a lot of times that will happen, and that dictates to me which side I'm going to pull down, because it's already started for me. So which side, because one side I'm going to have to come down to a point and then like shave down this way, and then the other two sides I'm going to come in at a point. So now all I'm going to do is, now this time I'm just going to, again, when you carve, you don't want to take too much off at a time. So all I'm doing is I'm going straight down, but at the same time, you have to then go at the side right at that edge and pull the edge down with it as well. So that it evenly gets shorter. And so just to kind of show you what's happening, this is exactly what we want. Now, if you want a very fine point, you would just need to pull back further bark so that you would have to make this angle to be a slower angle going down. So notice how this is a pretty steep angle. So you would just want it to be a lesser angle going down. But again, like I said, for the stuff that we're doing, a medium pen is kind of what you want. So we're getting close. Notice how we're getting into the inner pulp here. So this is where we start to know that we're in the right place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, I'm going to hold this like a pencil, and I'm going to very slowly start to pull this stuff out. If you were carving in bamboo, this would come out very easily, but in a twig, it's a lot harder. So this is just a very slow process. You're just trying to get all of that goodness out. Without carving any further into the wood. Oop. So you can kind of see now. Oh, my autofocus camera didn't want to focus. There we go. You can kind of see that I got it out. So before you come in this way to make the point, what we want to do is make the well. But what I'm noticing is, notice how small this area is. We want to make it a little bit further back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And all you do is, so this ratio right here, you're going to want that, like right now, this looks like it's about maybe 1.5, maybe 2 centimeters, and it should be at least 3 centimeters long to get a good pen out of it. So like, but you can't always see that until you get into the carving. So you don't have to do anything but carve a little bit more bark right off the top. And all I'm doing is trying to, again, make a little bit of a steeper angle. Brilliant. Okay, so you can kind of see. So I'm going to work that stuff out again. Notice I'm doing this mostly with the back of my X-Acto knife instead of the front. And the reason for that is because I don't want to cut into the, I'm not using force. I don't want to cut into the wood, because if I start to carve little grooves into the wood, it might affect how ink flows through the pen. So you just go slow. If you're nervous about doing that with this, you could always grab a toothpick and do it with a toothpick. But there's no reason why you can't do it with this. And you can kind of see now it's nice and cleaned out. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to need to do is make my well. And where you want the well is further back here. You want a nice conduit coming down. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretty much arbitrarily decide, but again, it's going to be pretty far back in that pocket. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the point, and I'm trying to do this so that you can see without my pen in the way. So you're taking the point and you're going to hold the pen straight up and down, and you're going to move it around in a circle, almost like you're drilling down into the pen. You're not using a lot of pressure. You're allowing it to basically carve itself, because you want a nice good circle. And you're not trying to force it through. You want it to kind of guide its own way. And you should feel it. You should feel it moving. And what I'm checking for is it to start to break through. And it hasn't just yet. So I'm gonna, again, keep going. Again, I'm not using any pressure. You know how chefs talk about how you shouldn't force a knife through like the tomato? You should just let the knife do the work. That's what you're doing here. All I'm doing is rotating it. I'm not pushing down at all. There it goes. So it just pushed through. So you might have heard that. So it's not a full circle yet. It's just literally these teeny tiny little dots. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side to finish it up. Again, no pressure. I'm just opening it all the way up. And this side, you know, it's not down into a groove, so you have to hold it with your other hand to stabilize it. So you just have to kind of go nice and slow. Because a well should be a perfect circle. And then when you hold it up, you should see right through it. Now, the last step is to make kind of this little conduit that goes through. And this is pretty simple. This we use pressure for. So you take your X-Acto knife and you place it in the hole. And then you slowly come down towards the front of the pen. Now you are using pressure for this. And as soon as it snaps, you stop. Because what that conduit uses is the force of the wood pushing from one side to the other to keep it closed. That's how it maintains control. So if you accidentally open it up a little bit too much, then it won't work well. And if you do that again, it's okay. I've done it before where I've made like a big mistake in it when I've carved it. And then I basically just start over a little bit further back, or I carve on the other side. So now the only thing we need to do is to make the point. And this is very simple. So what I'm going to do is along the edge here, I'm just going to shave it off one side and then the other, one side and then the other until I get a point that I like. So this is a nice, easy process. And here I kind of got a snafu where it didn't go smoothly across. Remember, the thing that only matters is the point. So something like that won't actually inhibit how the pen itself works, but you still want it to work well. So now this side I've gotten into kind of that conduit, which is great. And it's got a nice point, but it's not going to work if this side goes over top. So we want to kind of work down the other side until it, because I was fixing it. So now we want to just slowly, and you want to get nice and close. You want to really pay attention to what you're doing. And that looks pretty good. I think I just need to bring out this outer edge, pull that outer edge off a little bit. And there we have ourselves an ink pen. But like I said, as long as it has a point, so I'm going to do that on the other side just really quickly. As long as it has a point, you still need the bark off, because if the bark isn't off, it's not going to absorb the liquid, and that's how it works. So So this time I'm just making a point. I'm not trying to make a well or anything. I'm just bringing it to basically that pencil point. There we go. Now I could certainly make it, bring this down even further and make it more precise, but I would test it first. If this works well, then I would use it. And if it doesn't, then I would bring it back and I can constantly adjust it. Just like you would sharpen a pencil, you can do that with this. So that's how you carve a pen. Like I said, it's a very simple process. And you can do it again and again with any twig that you find. Amazon does sell bamboo. Bamboo, like I said, is a very traditional material. You can buy like giant bags of it. If you are ever interested in seeing what that's like, since it's hard to get bamboo around here. Although, again, I'm a big believer in using what's available. And all you need is a material that absorbs liquid. And so the wood that we have around here works just as well.